know, hearing and seeing the figures, that's never enough. You need to see the people behind those figures. And that's what we've shown you now. The people who sell those commodities in the market tell you the prices and why the costs are as much as that, in spite of the Naira gaining against the dollar. But the question is that enough for you? Because a lot of them, when you go to the market, will say, dollar don't rise. That's why this is rising. Well, some will talk about, transportation, that's the fuel price and the rest. But you know what? Let us take all of those questions and just dump it at the table of someone who knows about economics. We're joined on the program from our Abuja studio by Mr. Oyalowo. He's a development economist. Good morning, Mr. Oyalowo. Welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning, Kayode. Nice to have you. I mean, to be in your studio. Thank you very much for having me.
It's good to have you, Mr. Oyalowo. But, listen to those Nigerians talking about why the cost of commodities remain high in spite of the Naira gains. Because a lot of people were talking about the Naira to the dollar, and, there were a lot of flags thrown the way of government. So government is finding ways to bring it down, but for the goods, what goes up is not coming down. One of our users asked, is this witchcraft economics? So let me just put it straight to you, Mr. Oyalowo. Is this witchcraft economics?
No, but we need to understand that there are two sides to this coin. While the monetary policy side is working perfectly now, at least to a large extent, the monetary policy is being handled by the CBN. We know what has happened in the last couple of months. The MPR rate has gone up. They are mopping up the excess liquidity in the system so as to enable the Naira to strengthen us. So what should not happen is a marriage between the monetary and the fiscal side. So while the monetary side, we are seeing the result in terms of the appreciation of the Naira, the fiscal side has not yet fully been as up as the monetary side. So we need some form of policy structuring to get that right. However, a lot of things must also come into place. You see, we have to look at it from several angles. Our people too, we have our own way of adding to the problem of ourselves. Because yes, I saw the images and I listened to the interviews, and then I saw Naira dollar thing. I'm Nigerian, I experienced it. I remember I had to be questioning the guys I went to buy water from some times back when the refill bottled water suddenly shot up to 1,300 from 900, and I asked, are you importing this water? Because clearly we also have some fundamentals that needs to be breached. And this is the area where the Minister for Trade and Commerce needs to come in place. There must be some mechanism put in place to structure these price issues, because it is very obvious that price gouging is also a challenge that we are dealing with. Sometimes it's not just demand and supply. Our people have the tendency to gouge prices. And price gouging is actually a crime. I remember the FCCPC went to some shops, even though many people didn't like it. And I don't think that place they went to was the right place. I was listening to some discussions recently where you go to a supermarket and you find out that what you are seeing on the shelf, when you get to the counter to pay, is not what they are charging you. So I think, while we think we are running a classical economy, there must be some form of control mechanism to ensure that traders are not cheating the people. What do I mean? Some people claim, oh, the dollar went up, so our prices went up. So now the dollar has come down. If the price of your good is because of the dollar, then it should be reflective in what you're selling. But you will now hear the second argument. Oh, we stocked up when the dollar went up. That is why we cannot sell at a lower price. I was speaking with somebody who deals in telephone recently. And the funny thing is, I asked this same person that when the dollar went up, you didn't wait for your new stock to come in before you raise the prices. So these are challenges, so we need to put those aside. I mean, put all those things side by side. And like I said, the Minister of Trade and Commerce, or that ministry as a whole, needs to be involved, and the Ministry of Agriculture in terms of the food inflation. Because if you look at the current headline inflation, the highest inflation figure we have came from the food inflation side. So, which means we might still have inflation figures going up month on month. However, it has slowed down. What do I mean? A month before, it rose by 1.8%. This current one is 1.5. So while it's rising, it is slowing down. And I think it will still rise for the next 1 or 2 months. Then it will thaw down. Then it will start coming down. How will this happen? There will be harvest in the next couple of months. So by the time harvest comes in after the rains, clearly food inflation will start coming down. However, there are some other fundamentals that we also have to consider. The electricity figure that has gone up, pricing, I will have suggested if the Minister of Power and the NERC know what they are doing, what we are having should not be banned, trying to cheat some people and call it band A and some people band B, because right now nobody is getting the supply. What I expect, if you say, okay, you cannot provide electricity at the current price, should have been a marginal increase across board, not cheating Paul to pay Peter like they are doing. So a lot of fundamentals have to come in. Yes, also the price of transportation, but if you also follow the trend, the Dangote refinery have come have come on stream, and they're already selling diesel, and that means the pressure on FX for importation of diesel must come down over the period, in the next few months. And when that happens, you find that the price of production will come down because diesel prices will drop. And also, there is another new policy that just came out. It says all companies that are into the crude oil production must first and foremost supply Nigerian-based refineries before you can sell outside the shore. So when all this crystallizes, when they all come together, it will definitely have impact on our inflation figure. So I'm saying inflation is going to rise in the next 1 or 2 months again, then it will start to drop over the next 3, 4, 5 months. Yeah,
Mr. Oyalowo, it's a mixed bag, really. Gives cause for hope and yet again for worry if inflation would rise in the coming months, however minimally. But it's important to also look at where we're coming from in order to progress to, our ultimate destination. And this is why I ask this. The Naira has gained against the dollar. We're coming from 1,800 Naira to the dollar just about a month ago to 1,000 Naira where we are now. But what are the things that have been done rightly that has caused the Naira to gain in strength? And this is the reason I ask, because during your last appearance on our sister political program, you made a number of submissions about how what was happening had entirely nothing to do with any type of econometrics, but more out of sheer criminality by a number of banks who are sitting on 7 billion Naira, but are refusing to sell. And in fact, upon intervention of the CBN with a certain sum of FX, they were selling at an undue additional arbitrage. So have those issues, in your own view, from the point of view of a development economist, have they been sorted out? Are they what has led us to where we are now with the Naira gaining in strength?
Thank you very much. I just wanted to correct that figure. The submission I made here was $7 billion, not Naira, like you said, but I get that that's just a big a mix-up. Yes, clearly I recommended what I thought the CBN should do, and they did most of it except one, but they have done that one through the back door, and I will explain. I talked about Binance, and we all saw what they have done, and Binance that has unnecessarily turned Naira into a kalu business that they were doing then has been dealt with. That's number one. And I also said on that program that you mentioned in your studio here that the other problem that we're having is the fact that the people who should be doing retail and should not really be the one determining the price of our dollar to naira under the three malams, like I call them that day, were the ones causing all the problems. I mean, some of the problems. And the CBN, after that time, rather than you see, that I think a day before then, or that very day, the EFCC went to Zone 4, we were chasing them, and I said that was not necessary. And the CBN listened to me, and what did they do? They banned, or maybe unlicensed, about 4,100 BDC. I mean, even when you hear that figure, it tells you that we were running a crazy system before that time. How do you even have thousands of BDCs in the first instance? Makes completely no sense. So what the CBN did was to license these BDCs and put them under proper controls, checks and balances. Now you cannot carry $200,000 and go and buy, carry Naira and go and buy $200,000 to hide under your bed like they used to do before that time. So what CBN has now done is they are properly licensed these BDCs. They have given each one the power to operate in a certain manner, such that if you want to be a national CBN, you will have a certain number of branches. If you want to be a local, just a state-based, you will have a certain number of branches, and you must have so and so amount as your deposit that you have in place. So when that has been done, also they have now added to that what I recommended that day, which is you cannot just walk anywhere and buy currency without any form of documentation. That has been sorted. So by the time the CBN put all the many people that have been saying it's artificial, they are probably either not listening, they are either ignorant, or they are deliberately being obtuse, because the CBN has put in place these checks. So automatically, all the criminality that was going on under has stopped. Just see what happened last month. For the first time, we shared the highest amount of FAC, 2 trillion, 2.03 trillion, thereabout. Yet, the dollar did not rise. One, because the people who when they collect the FAC, I don't want to fight governors this morning, so I won't mention that it is the governors that used to go and change most of it to dollars to high, cannot do that again. So all these things have been put in place by the CBN. Therefore, you are seeing the result in the gaining of the Naira against the dollars. The Binance that was deliberately making the Naira to be weak by all this, they were doing a lot of hedging and betting against the Naira, have suddenly stopped. And I keep seeing people saying, keep your dollar closer, don't sell, there's no fundamentals. And I laugh at them, because even the rise of the dollar against the Naira had no fundamentals, and I sit bold to say it. So now I gave a third recommendation, which is to deal with the heads of some of these banks. Now the CBN probably didn't want to do that, so what has the CBN done? It has said, now go and increase your shareholders' funds, and you have to do it in certain manner. So all the monies that they are sitting on, that they are deliberately not bringing out, must come out, because now you have to increase your liquidity. Whether you like it or not, you can't sit on those dollars again. So the CBN has done all the three things I said, just that the third one was not done the way I said, remove the MDs of those banks. Rather, they have said, go and increase to 500 billion. Is it 500? Yeah, 500 billion. But if I had my way, I will even go to 1 trillion. Because you need to deal with some of these banks who are part of the problem that we are facing before. But for now, I completely give the CBN kudos for going through these reforms without so much force, like we were saying. No fuse, no noise, no gaga. Just doing the right thing, slowly, gradually, and here we are today in terms of Naira versus dollar.
Mr. Oyalowo, I see that you're not smiling today with these bank owners. If you have your way, you're going to do even more things that the CBN is doing. But we're seeing a lot of activity from the monetary end, and we're seeing the productivity as well, because as Naira is rebounding, although you had said that both rise from Naira or dollar were all artificial and all of that, if I understand what you inferred. But let's talk about the fiscal end. What do you think has to be done from the fiscal end to match up the energy that is coming from the monetary side, because it's Mr. Oyalowo is called the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy. How much coordination are you seeing, or would you want to see, so that we can sustain the gains and see the results reflect in tapering down inflation as well as reducing the cost as much as possible, so that Nigerians can begin to, see the dividend of democracy?
All right. What I want Mr. Oyalowo to do is he needs to take a little bit more charge of, since he's the coordinating minister of the economy, I want to see more synergy with the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Trade and Investment. What will that do for us? And then maybe Ministry of Transport and the Ministry of, Ministry of Transport, because sometimes you have to look at it. Like I said earlier on, the figure that contributed the highest to this current inflation figure is from agriculture. So the Minister of Agriculture needs to sit up with the Minister of Finance, because no matter what the Minister of Finance does, if food inflation continues to rise, you will have failed. And the way you can stop that failure is to synergize. And how do you do that? A lot of things can be done, but I can just propose a few here, although these days I hate to give free advice on TV, because nobody pays me for these things, and I really don't like just telling them this is what you should do. If they really want the good idea, they should come and meet me, let's talk, and then we can say this is how we do it. But however, for my audience this morning, I'll say there should be some coordination between the Ministry of Finance and Agriculture to ensure that staple food prices are brought down in the next couple of weeks. Also, for that of Trade and Investment, I'm sorry, I really don't see what they are doing from that ministry till now. So they need to sit up as well to put in some of the ideas that was sold to Nigerians during the election. And I remember clearly I was one of those people who sold those ideas to Nigerians. When we look at the manifesto, we said there will be a way where all the 6 geopolitical regions will be allowed to play in their area of core competence, that is their area where they are strongest, so that you will have industries attracted to these places. If you have production activity going on, if most of what we consume is produced or at least assembled in Nigeria, you will bring down the prices of some of these goods and services. So there are a lot of things that can be done, but like I said, I don't want to be giving too much free advice on TV. I gave the CBN free advice, they didn't pay, they implemented the advice, and now we are seeing the results. So the fiscal people can come see, we can sit down again, I can tell them this is what I think we should do. However, like I said, there should be coordination between those 3 or 4 ministries so that the result will come to pass very soon. But like I said, food will begin to come down when harvest starts to happen in the next 2 or so months, because clearly when the food prices start to come down, right, the headline inflation will naturally reduce. Because I always say it, and I will say it again, like the Yorubas will always say, when hunger is taken away from the life of a man, right, most of his problems are already solved. Absolutely. So if you reduce the food inflation, you will definitely hit some other areas of our lives, and then we can now begin to talk. Also, like I said, Mr. Oyalowo, energy prices, especially this band A, band B, band C nonsense, needs to be jettisoned, and a sensible approach must be undertaken so that Nigerians can enjoy these things at a reasonable cost. Because what they have done now is, when you increase one particular aspect far above, about 400% to other area, what you will do is everybody will now claim we are on this aspect, then cost of production will be dumped. By the time cost of production goes up, I mean, the final cost will be dumped on the consumers. So I think the NERC needs to go back and rejig and rethink and stop this nonsense band A, band B, band C, because we are still not getting the light anyway. So they need to sit down and rejig it. Just these are things that needs to be done so that we can have some sensibilities in our economy.
I will not leave the fact that you're asking for payment. And people will ask, whatever happened to patriotism, Mr. Oyalowo? You're a patriotic Nigerian.
And he campaigned for it.
And you know. So.
Kayode, my patriotic preaching was what led to what we're having today. I was the first to sit down and say, look, Binance was a problem. Deal with them. BDCs were a problem.
Right.
Deal with them, but don't go around beating up people and arresting them. Just put in the policy, and it has been done. And then the banks. So I have been patriotic.
Well, Nigerians are grateful.
Everybody have seen the result.
Nigerians,
today,
thank
the Naira
you,
is about
Mr.
1,000 Naira. That day when I started, it was 1,900.
Right.
So I have done my job.
And some will say it was a joint, a collective work. So thank you for your patriotism. So let's tap into that patriotism yet again and draw from it. The former governor of Kaduna State, Mr. Oyalowo, that's Nasir El-Rufai, made some sort of revelation. Some people were not shocked, but for a lot of people, coming from that level, it was a stamp of, authority of sorts, that this government is still paying subsidy. In fact, it is more than what used to be. And one of our users had asked about witchcraft economics. Some other people say voodoo economics, because this government says it is saving money by not paying subsidy. That's why we have the FAC allocations going up. So if you are paying more subsidy, according to the former governor of Kaduna State and some other economists, how is our FAC still going up as well? And why is this government not coming out to tell Nigerians the real situation?
What the former governor of Kaduna said is not out of place. I think Nigerians, like I say, we are always not taking time to find out or make researches. The president said, and I may not be able to quote directly as he said, yes, we have removed subsidy, but we will step in at when necessary. So, because the price difference between Naira and dollar went up, and we are importing most of our PMS, automatically, if they let that reflect on the final cost of PMS, we should be paying close to 1,000 or something around for a liter. So it is clear that there has been some adjustment here and there. So it's not a big revelation, like Malam said. It is not a new thing. It is something that some of us have known that was going on. However, I may want to dispute the fact that he said it is more now. I don't think it is more, because if they have completely been paying like we used to pay in the past, the subsidy figure will have been humongous beyond belief. Yes, and like you rightly said, if they were paying more subsidy than we used to pay before, we would not have the kind of FAC we've had. So I dispute the more from what he said, but there's no doubt about it that there's been some adjustment in prices of petroleum because of the difference in Naira and dollar. However, with just about a difference of just 300 Naira now from the 700 that it used to be, I think the cost will drop in terms of the amount. And then when Naira finally strengthens to, because I said it, I said, okay, not here. I said it in my friend's birthday that I think the Naira was undervalued, that the Naira should not be, should be between 600 to 900 Naira, in my own estimation. So if the Naira stabilizes around that area, then automatically the amount that is being paid as subsidy to balance out the difference will be much lower than it used to be from every indication.
Well, more importantly, the differentials, what Nigerians are yearning for, to see it in the interventions in areas like agriculture that you talked about. But earlier on, Mr. Oyalowo, you said that, inflation may still go up over the next few months, but there is a possibility that price of commodities will come down now that Dangote has begun to sell diesel to marketers. But if inflation is set to go up yet again, isn't it now instructive for Mr. President to invoke the Price Control Act to protect Nigerians? Because as we said at the beginning of this program, Nigeria seems to be an exception with the rule that what goes up should come down. What are your thoughts on this?
I agree with you in this. I agree. The president wanted, I think the president is, from my own analysis of him from afar, he looks like somebody who believes in the classical school of economy. So, and I, for once, I have a lot of disagreement with the classical school of economy, where you say the force of market. It has been proven in Nigeria that we don't have force of market. We have more of a few cartel, and I will prove that to you by saying there's nowhere in the world where you have airline association, owners of association of airline determining price of ticket. Each airline should run as it wishes, and put price as it does, as it wants to do. However, only in Nigeria, owners of airlines sat down and said we will not do. So you find out that we have a little problem with classical economy here, in a system where there's always some people who sit down in one room and determine the government must not sit down and think the forces of demand and supply will work 100% here. You must help that force by telling people to do the right thing. We have the FSCPC, we have a lot of other agencies that can be empowered to ensure that what we are seeing is not demand and supply, is price gouging. And we need to deal with that, because let me give you an example. Somebody on this same X app that you were talking about talked about a cream you used to buy for 2,000 or so, but has now gone to 7,000. Even if you say it was imported cream, from what that person said, it is clear that dollar to Naira did not go up by by that amount of percentage. It didn't go up about 3%, 300%. Dollar went up from 750 to 1,003, 1,000, then gradually up to 1,009 before it started coming down. So there was no way that cream, from that analysis, should have gone from 2,000 to 7,000. So we have a way here of being evil to ourselves. Right. And I've always said it that Nigerians are generally very funny people. We have a way of making life harder for ourselves, and then we go and make testimonies in church of how God has blessed us. Meanwhile, we will not tell the people that we cheated our fellow brothers and sisters. It was only in this country that a price of face masks that used to be 50 Naira suddenly became 500 Naira because of COVID. So price gouging should be dealt with by the government. I completely subscribe to that.
If I'm important, we're totally out of time, but you need to answer this for me maybe in 30 seconds, please. 30 seconds. If you look at the graph for between May to March, by ascension, it's quite steep. When you look at the headline inflation and the food inflation, 10 to 15% increase, if you look at month on month and all of that. But the government is targeting 21% at the end of the year. Is that a possibility?
It is possible. It is very possible. Like I said, it has. If you notice the increase in inflation rise, although it has gone up, but it has reduced from 1.8 last month to 1.5. So it might go up maybe 1.3 or 1.2, and then maybe to 1%, then it will start dropping from that moment. Yeah, it is quite achievable.
Mr. Oyalowo, development economist, thank you so much for your insight, and continue to be patriotic. This is our job, so we'll bring you here. So maybe you give us another scoop on how...
Come and pay for my patriotism. I spend money to learn this.
It's your party that's in power. I'm sure the president is listening. He will do something about it. Once, thank you for coming on the program, Mr. Aya.
All right. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, we'll switch gears now and take this short break. When we come back, we want to make sense of what exactly is going on with Kano politics. Has Abdullahi Ganduje, the national chairman of the party, been suspended or not? We'll find out from those in the know. Join us again.